So we're here with Dr. Robertson from the University College of the Cayman Islands. He's the new CEO. We're going to be talking to him a little bit about what's been happening on campus. Some big and exciting things have been going on. So thank you so much for taking a little bit of time out of your busy schedule to speak with us and our listeners. And everyone is always curious as to what's happening here at the university. So I noticed that when I came here today, the parking lot was full, and I could barely find a parking spot. So there's a lot of excitement on campus this afternoon. What's going on?
So there's two things, basically. First of all, we're doing a major change with respect to the courtyard. The courtyard has had some serious flooding problems over the last few years, and so it will be opened again in about 2 or 3 weeks. It will have a significant drainage applied to it, so it won't flood. Students use it to study and have a lunch in, so it'll look a lot better. It'll be more functional. And that project was about $330,000, and it's just about finished. So, but it's I think it'll really make students feel more comfortable on campus, and it's about ready to go. So we're really pleased about that. In addition, today we have the Chamber of Commerce here. They have an education and career fair in the hall. They have about 350 to 400 students who've been through so far today, as far as I've heard. And we have about probably 60 different companies and organizations presenting their, the kinds of things that they do, and giving students a sense of what the job opportunities are like out there for them. So it's a very interesting day.
Wow, fantastic. I just passed someone from one of the local hospitals here. Looks like they were packing up some of their stuff. But I mean, this is a fantastic opportunity for university students to kind of see, as you rightfully said, what's available in the job market. And I remember the days when we went to the job fairs. It was also exciting to think about, are you in the right career path? Because sometimes you weren't sure, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's for high school students as well as college students. And the point is, and we spoke about this morning at the introduction, everybody's different. Everybody has a different interest, a different passion. And particularly for younger students, high school students, I always ask them to, what are you interested in? Don't ask me, what should I do? It's really, what do you want to do? Because the sky's the limit. If you want to do something, let's find a way to make you ready to do that, get the skills that you need. And so most of the employers that I spoke to, that's the kind of things they were talking to with students. So, they would bring them in for like an internship, for example. It's like a long interview. And you could both see what you wanted to do, both the student and the company, as to whether you wanted to keep them and, encourage them to stay with the company. And so those kind of discussions, and I've sat in on a few of them today, they were just great.
Absolutely, fantastic. What's the complement of students here now at the University College? How many students do you have?
So we're just under 2,000. The traditional enrollment students is kind of flat, if not down a little bit, but the non-traditional students, people taking workforce skills or certificates, is up by about 9 or 10%. And we will continue to see that through the remainder of this academic year, and I think into next year. That's pretty common through most parts of the Caribbean as well as Canada and the United States. I think post-COVID, but even pre-COVID, people were looking for, a way to upskill that maybe didn't take the same amount of time as it did for me to get a bachelor's degree, for example. A lot of people want to see light at the end of the tunnel. They want to get out and work and then maybe do school part-time. And so we're increasingly offering more of those types of credentials.
Wonderful, absolutely wonderful. So recently, a few weeks back, I attended a Resembid award grant launch or ceremony, and that was the second one that I had attended. And so it seems like the University College of Cayman Islands is really getting a lot of wonderful opportunities in terms of grants being given that then allows you to offer courses to students right here in the Cayman Islands. So tell us a little bit about the last grant and what that means for the university.
So it's actually the second in a series of grants, as you just mentioned, and the total is about 1.6 million euros. So that's a pretty significant amount. I've actually had calls from colleagues across the Caribbean asking us how we did it, what are we doing, can we learn from you in terms of those grants. And so I think it is, it's a brand game changer for UCCI. The grant itself is primarily about resiliency and sustainability, and climate change is a big issue. So For example, we'll be hiring a project coordinator because the grant has about a 12-month window
Right.
within which it needs to be spent, which is actually seems to a lot of people like a long time, but it isn't really when you have to spend that money in a certain way.
Yes.
So we will have a designated coordinator on site likely as early as the next week or two. We will set up a steering committee, which will include some government representation, some representation from UCCEI and some others. And by others, I mean, for example, the National Trust. We had a very good discussion with them just a few minutes ago about working jointly on this because it's a mutual benefit. They have some similar interests, and we can, I think, make this grant 110% if we work with them as opposed to doing it sort of separately. So in addition to that, we will be training young Caymanians to work in solar industries, which is particularly important and will continue to be. I mean, just in the last few days, oil prices have gone down, but they always go back up. So solar will continue to be a big deal for, for this country, but also elsewhere. And you need people who are trained in that discipline. It's very important. So we'll be training people in that area. We'll also look at this campus as a case study, and this is where my colleagues are asking me, what are you doing and how can we follow you? So we'll be actually tracking energy use on the campus and try to improve energy use. Well, not trying to, we will improve it. A lot of places have problems with air conditioning systems. It's too cold, it's too hot, it's left on over the weekend, those types of things.
Right.
And if we can set it up so it's more automated and so it's off at night, comes on during the day, basic things, costs a little bit of money to invest in, but it has a payback over time. A component of that would be to use solar on some of our buildings, and the solar would be for two purposes. One, it would be kind of a plug and play. I mean, students could come in and plug it in, see how it works, unplug it, and then other students can come in and see how it works. But it would also generate electrical supply to some of our buildings, and it would reduce our costs. We spend over $300,000 a year on electricity here at UCCEI, and so if you could even reduce that by 50%, that's a big savings. And furthermore, we're going to talk with colleagues, for example, at the high school, because the high school and the stadium, my guess is between the three of us, we probably spend $1 million. Now, it's just a guess, but I think I'm pretty close. And if we could work on a microgrid for all three of those entities and reduce the energy cost by, again, 50%, that's $500,000. So we'll be looking into things like that with the Resembid grant, and so I think it has a big impact. And more importantly, I think it's multidisciplinary. So it's not just the trades, for example, or particular parts of the school. The entire university needs to be supportive of the types of things that are in this grant. So I mentioned at the opening, I think where you were, that we're a member now of this PRME, Principles for Responsible Management Education. And we're going to try to include in courses across the university the importance of managing sustainably. Because for an island like the Cayman Islands, it's really important. I mean, it's important anywhere, but it's particularly evident here that we need to be careful about, the stewardship that is required of us on an island nation. And so we'll be doing that. We spoke with the with the National Trust today about making sure that message doesn't go out just to university students, but also to high school students and elementary students.
Right.
And so we want to work with them in setting up some courses that would be available partly online, but partly face-to-face, that students could take and would explain to them, the importance to them about these issues. Because in fact, many of the changes we're going to make are more important for younger people, because they're going to be left with either the problems or the prospects of what we do. And so we need to treat the environment wisely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a hot button topic for sure.
Yeah, it is everywhere, but I think it's really important here. I mean, that's partly why a lot of tourists come here. Obviously, it's a pristine, beautiful environment, and the more I talk to people overseas about the islands, they like the fact that the environments have that level of beauty attached to them, and they really feel it's different than it is in many other places, not only in Grand Cayman but also in Cayman Brac.
Wonderful. So, Dr. Robertson, how long have you been on the island now? It's
About five or 6 months.
You're going
yeah.
into about 6 months. So, How are you generally finding, the university campus environment? I know the students are still getting to know you a little bit, and I'm sure you're still getting to know them as well as the faculty. Tell us about some of the challenges, perhaps, as well as
Sure.
some of the beautiful opportunities that you see.
Yeah.
ahead.
Well, it certainly takes more than 6 months.
Yes.
You have to really kind of hit the ground running, but you have
Yeah.
to also be a little cautious about overreacting to certain
Sure.
things. And so I try to every day get out and walk around. And so I'll go into a class, which surprises some, students and faculty, but I'll kind of just walk in and introduce myself and, just sort of open up the floor for questions that they might have. And
Right.
the one positive thing I hear about that is that students maybe are reluctant the first time, but then after, when they see you on campus, they'll come up to you and ask you a question, which is great. We have some DE students here, some dual enrollment students, and they've been really positive about asking for information about where to go to school after they finish high school, either here or perhaps elsewhere. And so those types of relationships takes a bit of time to build, but I think it's important, and I think a president needs to have that level of visibility, essentially, not only with students but also with faculty. We also are trying to build some specific opportunities for both. So we have been aggressive in trying to sign some articulation agreements, for example. We signed some with the University of Prince Edward Island. We have a couple of other ones we're signing. We have another one with New England Institute of Technology that's just about to be signed.
Right.
And the point is, these need to be mutually beneficial.
Yes.
In a previous life in the Caribbean, I was concerned that some foreign schools would come here basically with their hand out. They would just want students to come to their school, pay the tuition, and go home or stay, whatever they wanted to do. But there wasn't a lot of value, in the proposition. So here we're actually trying to ensure there is value. So for example, at UPEI, University of Prince Edward Island, they will have Canadian students come for a term and have everything paid, but then they can come back with credits. They also will support faculty exchange. So faculty can go up and shadow a faculty member in business or whatever the other disciplines are. So that's one example. We have another school from Canada, Nova Scotia Community College is coming here in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Same kind of program. So, that's beneficial on both levels. For
Yes.
them, it gives them a sense of the Cayman Islands, the history and culture here, that type of thing. But for our people, it gives them a sense of some of the opportunities in different schools. New England Tech, for example, will be announcing a major scholarship for students who come through UCCI, and by major I mean $12,000 a year. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a very good school. They have programs we just can't offer here, like architecture, for example. They have an architectural program. They've got a ship design and construction program, because they're attached to some of the big shipyards in Rhode Island. So it's kind of interesting if we can hook up with some of those schools in terms of best practice. So those things are important as well. But there's still a lot of things that we need to work on.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of really awesome collaborative opportunities there.
Yeah, I think so. And it's what you make of them. A lot of people sign these agreements, they don't go anywhere, but we want to sign a few of them, but make sure that they are beneficial to both parties. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, wonderful. So what's next in terms of the Resembid program? Will we be getting some updates, I'm sure, from the sort of the technical staff that's
Correct.
working directly with those?
Right. So one of the things that's really important in a program of this nature is to document it and report it. And so we
Yes.
even spoke to the Resembid coordinator yesterday about the fact that I think the program's a little weak generally in terms of encouraging different Resembid recipients to communicate with each other so that we can learn from each other's mistakes. I think that's really important. And so they've agreed to a post-Resembid grant conference virtually where we can share what worked for us and what didn't with other countries in the region.
Okay.
And so by doing that, you also can improve yourself. But through the period of the next 12 months, we will issue monthly updates to publicly so everybody sees what is happening. We will have in place, I think by the end of next week, a steering committee. We will have a coordinator, and we will have a game plan because it's only 12 months and we have to get on it pretty quickly. So we will have that game plan. It's just about ready now, but it'll be ready next week, and we'll move forward from there.
Okay.
The first money's actually has already come in.
Right. Wow. So you definitely have to hit the ground running.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I mean, it was great to just get an opportunity to sit down with you for a few minutes and chat about some of the wonderful things that you've got going on here at the University College of the Cayman Islands. I'm gonna take it. Is the expo still on? I might be able to pop in.
It's just wrapping up, but you still could see the scope of it. It's very impressive. The number of participants there in terms of presenters is really good. I mean, the 911 Center is there, CUC is there, a number of different, like the St. Matthew's Medical School and Veterinary School. A lot of different companies, all the big finance companies and banks. And I guess if nothing else, it gives a young person some comfort that there's a lot of choice for them to make, and so they can't really complain that there's limited opportunities. There are many opportunities here. You just have to take advantage of them and have the right skills that these folks are looking for.
Anything exciting coming up in the coming months that your students can look forward to here at the university?
Well, in the next few weeks or month, we will announce a new digital literacy program. Again, that's a big issue in the Cayman Islands, as it is throughout the world. I think you perhaps have heard me say that 2023 has been named the year of skills by the European Union. They think there's about 8 million European employees who need to upskill their digital skills.
Wow.
Here, my understanding is we have a deficiency of about 500 people in terms of work permits in that area. And so we need to put something together that's kind of short and stackable and certified. So we have an arrangement now with CompTIA, which is the global kind of certification body that people are looking for, companies that are working here. And so we'll have programs available. So if you are working, you can take the program because it's that type of program. It's flexible. You don't have to be full-time. Or if you're not, you can take it full-time. So we want to make sure that the options that are available suit you as a student. One of the experiences that I've had as an academic in different parts of the world is most schools set up programs to suit them, not you. So if you happen to be available in the evening, I'm sorry, we don't offer classes in the evening, which doesn't make sense in today's world. So that program will be 5 courses. It would take a year to finish part-time, and so it would give you the kind of skill sets that it appears that we are issuing work permits for, and we should be trying to train people for. A week ago, we had a breakfast with employers. We had a young man there who was a Caymanian who had 2 CompTIA certified courses, and he was picked up by a company just like that.
Wow.
And he's only got 2 of the 5, but the employer told me that's exactly what we need. We're going to encourage him to do the rest. We don't want him to drop out of them, but 2 of 5 is a very good start because these are globally recognized certifications. It's very important.
Wonderful. Wow.
Yeah.
So that sounds like a great opportunity. I'm sure we'll get more about the registration process once it becomes available.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate being able to chat with you. And folks, again, the University College of the Cayman Islands offers a wealth of courses. So please contact them. We'll put a little ticker down at the bottom on how you can reach out to their sort of registrar's office and get more information.
Great. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, too.
Thanks.